You know, 30 years ago, I was part of something very, very special. Something that turned into a global phenomenon. The first ever WrestleMania. You know, history was made that day, and history's being made right now with the launch of the WWE Universe.
Is what's best for business.
I gotta go take a big hairy dump.
Oh my God.
Tonight's main event, a tag team match.
Yes.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Let's Talk Wrestling podcast, the podcast where we review every segment of Raw and give you the wrestling news of the week. My name is Turbo Tony. We're here with my internet ghost partner, Matt Marsander. How are you doing there today, Matt?
Yeah, can't complain today, Tony. It's yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. It's been a pretty interesting week of wrestling. We knew that it would be that way with the WWE Network launching. We had the likes of Hulk Hogan returning. We'll get all into that.
Oh God, yeah.
We'll get into all the reasons why myself and Matt aren't big fans of the hulkster. But we'll also go through.
It was like I was just watching it and just I messaged you. It was like, I'm bored of Hogan already. Like,
I did also
not good.
I want to explain as well that we're actually going to be talking a little bit about TNA today because I just want to explain the differences with Hogan being in WWE and the media coverage that he gets, and then you get the likes of when he was in TNA, the media coverage they got is two different things.
There was quite a few points in sort of like Hogan's promo where it's just like, I'm home. It's like, no, but it's like, you know, subtext. It's like, I'm here because they pay me. And it's just like, wow, so this is what a wrestling crowd looks like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You see the pictures as well on Twitter of dead TNA crowds because they did it on the same night as the NXT.
Yeah.
And NXT just blew them out of the water sort of thing, which is quite, that's their WWE's developmental. But we'll get into that in a minute anyway because we go through the wrestling news of the week first of all. We got a little bit of news there for you there. A lot of interesting, juicy conversations for us to have. Just to warn you beforehand, we've got a lot of notes on this week's episode, so you can expect this to be quite a lengthy episode. Go grab yourself a nice cup of coffee or a Pepsi or anything along those lines, and enjoy us talking for what I think will probably be a 2-hour podcast here. So,
It's true.
So, let's get into this anyway. First of all, just before I start off as well, if you didn't catch our extra episode that we did during the week, we apologise for not doing the episode last week. We just did not have the time. We're actually, Matt flew over to Ireland to come and see
the one time where it's like, this could work out because we're actually in the same place, but no.
Yeah, everything seemed to go wrong. We didn't get the time. And we actually were testing out a new mic, and that mic didn't work. So, yeah, I just don't think it was meant to be. But we're giving you, obviously, that episode throughout the week, which is our Elimination Chamber review. If you want to check that out, that's on the channel. And if this is your first time checking out the Let's Talk Wrestling podcast, then, I hope you guys enjoy the ride. Subscribe if you do. You won't miss any episodes. And leave a like. Help us out and share the show. Get out to as many ears as you can. So, enough getting around that. We've got a big show to get with today. And the first of which is obviously the big story. The WWE Network launched the night after, the day after, sorry, because it was during the day that it launched, Elimination Chamber. Mm-hmm. As we predicted, first of all, because we are quite technically minded, there was a lot of launch issues and loopholes throughout the system. When I talk about launch issues, there was the likes of some videos weren't loading up correctly, some people being billed for the free 1-week trial, so they were being billed for that trial. And the loopholes I was talking about is that a lot of people outside the US, which is supposed to be the only place that is available to get the network, have been able to purchase the network and also use it, which... I mean, I knew this would happen anyway. It's quite easy to mask your ISP nowadays, so make your internet believe that it's American. You can sign up there from like a Visa card, even if it wasn't an American one. You can get through pretty easy.
And it's not going to give no ideas.
Yeah, well, I don't want to tell people how to do it, but like anyone who's technically minded would know how to get away through their system. It's pretty paper thin. You don't really have to do anything. I mean, I've got family over in America, so I could probably get details of them and get the network even though I'm here in Ireland sort of thing, so it's even easier for someone in my situation. So I may be looking into try and work my way into the network. I probably won't do that unless all these glitches are sorted out, because I knew there would be, even though they're with a very reputable backer for their network. It's just going to happen whenever you launch something new. it's gonna be broken. First of all, there was no beta for this coming out, for obviously good reasons. But no, obviously there are going to be launch issues, and that's the reason why it's good that they released this a month before WrestleMania, so they can hopefully get all these issues sorted out.
Just fix it up, yeah.
The one thing I thought maybe a problem though is that they should have done this maybe just before Elimination Chamber, because then they can gauge how many people are going to use it on pay-per-view night. Because if they thought a lot of people were going to be going on for the NXT ArRIVAL pay-per-view, there's going to be more going on for WrestleMania. You can bet your bottom dollar about that. So, but we'll see how that goes anyway. And I don't expect these issues to last very long, maybe a couple of weeks, but you would expect it to happen anyway. No launch of something this huge and of media that high is going to go without at least a few hitches. I mean, if anyone caught our channel beforehand, where we used to do gaming on our channel as well, we did Guild Wars 2 stuff, and any game that's like on online or anything like that, or any service that goes online for the first time, will have issues. It's inevitable, really. Yep, that's the story behind that. I have checked out the network a little bit myself. There seems to be some pretty good shows on there. They haven't released all the content yet. Obviously, they're going to be. It's not as if they're releasing all like the Legends House episodes and you can binge on them in one go. As far as I know, the Legends House stuff isn't even on there. Those sort of shows aren't even on there yet. Which you'd expect them. I thought that maybe they'll put at least one episode on there for the free trial week. But hopefully we'll get a little bit more on this. I'll talk to other people that have got the network, and we'll get a little bit more information for you there. And especially for our UK fans and other people around the world who will have to wait until we're legally allowed to have this anyway.
Yeah.
Here's another bit of news, Matt, which I think that you'll be just frustrated about as I am.
Mm-hmm.
There is like a Twitter account being made, and also a lot of web posts going around about the Chicago fans banding up together planning to hijack Raw. You know what? I've got a lot to say about this in the sense that we've said beforehand with the whole CM Punk thing that we don't really have much sympathy for CM Punk because he's still in contract.
Yeah.
The fans can go and say whatever they like, but them hijacking the show isn't going to make WWE hire CM Punk back or force him to do his contract. Them planning to hijack the show is just going to ruin a show that they've paid for, and next week the fans will go back to being the same as they were. So I don't know why they're doing this. They're just basically going to ruin their own wrestling show, even though they might have really good stars on there. Apparently they're planning on still cheering for the likes of Daniel Bryan or booing Batista and stuff like that. Personally, I don't agree with it, personally. Sure, you're behind CM Punk, but why don't you go to CM Punk and ask him for the answers? He hasn't come out and said anything. You know why he hasn't come out and said anything? Because he's on contract. Because he can't do it. And when he's on contract, he's legally obliged to wrestle for WWE. So there you are. That's my basis of it. What's your thought about the hijack plan?
Petty. I don't know. I think it's just okay. Yeah, you could cheer for a guy, but it's almost damaging to the product just to carry on cheering for nothing.
Yeah, what I think about it is that they're gonna boo the entire show. Okay, fair enough, but you're booing guys that are legitimately working very hard to try and get their thing. So that means that you're now not only damaging the company, you're damaging all the wrestlers in that company. If they plan for it to go this bad, I don't think it will. I think there will just be one show where it gets hijacked a little bit, and that's about it. But so you're gonna boo the likes of Randy Orton and Batista, and you're gonna boo all the other matches on the card. Well, these guys actually work really hard, to try and give you a decent show. It's not all their fault. The reason why you think that CM Punk's been booked incorrectly, for what I think that CM Punk hasn't been booked. I think in terms of his booking for WrestleMania, I think he's been booked as well as you can do. I don't see him being. They had a good program set up for him to face Triple H at WrestleMania. That's still a big profile match. Good enough for him anyway, and he's been in title matches at WrestleMania or anything. And you look at his booking over the last 12 months, he's had a very lengthy, rivalry with the likes of Paul Heyman, and everything like that. And he's not as if he's been on the back burner. He was champion for about a year and a half, or close to 2 years. So it'd be, I guess WWE would be reluctant to put him in any program involving the belt for too long. So, but we're not going to go too much into that. I just think this is very. you know, at the end of the day, look at it from WWE's perspective. They're going to go to Chicago. All these people that have paid money to get into there are going to boo it. They're not going to enjoy the show because they're booing it. Because the wrestlers aren't going to give them a good match or a good show because they're being booed. And WWE stick all the money in their pocket. They'll go to another crowd next week. They'll sing the praises of that crowd, tell them that they're great and Chicago sucks or whatever, which I doubt they would do. But they'll tell them they're great and they'll get their big cheers and then they'll be fine. You know, then Chicago left out of pocket and they really haven't done anything except for, you know, make themselves seem like one of those events where it gets booed. So it'll be interesting anyway. That's the Chicago event is actually the Raw coming up, so that should be interesting to see how that goes.
We'll find out about that soon.
What I would do if I were WWE, and I would try and get Daniel Bryan out there to go and turn heel on them or something and be like, how dare you boo the company. So just see how they react to that then, you know, that would be great. Or to cut a shoot promo on CM Punk or something, just funny as hell. Even I doubt these guys have got mojo with each other, but that's just dream promo booking right there. I think that'd be so funny to see what the fans, what do we do now? He's shooting on CM Punk, but we still want to cheer him, and sad news now, which we should have covered last week, but obviously we weren't able to. Big Daddy V, we know him better as Viscera.
That's it.
He passed away this week. I always remember this guy as being quite talented for the size that he was, and you could see him do stuff that you just think, what? How can you do that for the size that you were? And he was a dark character during the times of us watching.
Definitely.
I know that you...
We're a bit odd.
I know, like, we haven't talked much about Viscera. He's been out of the loop of wrestling for a while, the mainstream at least. But I know that you like the guy because of his of his size and his movement and stuff.
It's kind of like Vader. Like, you sort of look at them and it's just like, nah, it'd be nothing, and then suddenly they just pull something out, and it's just like, that's actually pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And it was, that was pretty much the way it was with sort of Vader.
Yeah. And he came back, didn't he, as Big Daddy V for the ECW run? When that reformed, and he got to. He was involved quite heavily during about that time, and I remember him being involved in a few good programs. So in terms of his wrestling career, he did pretty well. I think you can't say anything bad about that. And like I said, he hasn't been around much recently, as you'd expect. I mean, his prime was back in the Attitude Era. Yeah. Enlightened with some very dark. Can you imagine, Viscera being around now as that character now? It just wouldn't really fly, would it?
No, it just wouldn't work.
Great guy, and I think that it's a shame that we're not going to be able to see him at least have one, returning segment on Raw or something about it. Just see one last time, so that is a bit sad. So, the final bit of news for this week, and this is actually more for our American audience, and we can't go into this too much here because, for obvious reasons. The WWE over here has a contract with Sky Sports, which they recently renewed, and for as long as I've been alive, they've always done their show on Sky Sports, so they've got a pretty good standing connection with Sky Sports, and I don't see that breaking up anytime soon. It's not as if BT Sport over here is going to pick up. They're not, they have that long-standing relationship. Everyone knows them as being a part of Sky Sports, and that's fair enough. Everyone in England, Ireland, myself included, know that's how you get your WWE television is, now through, not even the network, we don't get it here, but it's on Sky Sports that you get it.
Yeah.
Obviously, in America, it's a lot more convoluted. They've changed different platforms, so they've been on Spike, they've been on USA Network. Their contract of where they are now has basically they have not renewed that contract with the USA Network, or I think it's whatever conglomerate that they're part of. So now they're shopping around. They're looking to see what other places will take them up, maybe give them more money, or if who they're currently with is going to offer them more money. And I think the reason why WWE has decided to go this route is because one, their stock is going quite high at the moment, and also their WWE Network has launched, so the game has changed, so to speak. Giving you a little bit of a pun there for Triple H now being in control of stuff. This will either go really well for WWE, whereas people will be bargaining for them, and their price is going to go up and up and up and up and up for people who are willing to pay them to be on their program on their stations. Or it will come back at them, and they might not get any offers, and they will end up having to go back to where they were for maybe a less price than what they were offered to begin with. So it's a gutsy move by WWE. They're deciding to throw their weight around a little bit, and I think they can afford to. I do think that. especially with the network launching.
Yeah, they definitely have the sort of strength just to go, no.
Yeah.
And just sort of, I mean, as you said, sort of play around with it.
Mm. And there's a lot of change in WWE now at the moment. Like I said, with the stock rising as well, they feel as if they're confident enough to put the pressure not on themselves but on on the companies that have worked with them to maybe get a little bit more cash. And look, listen, this is Vince McMahon at the helm. He's going to do what he can. If he thinks the risk is worth the gain, to quote one of my favourite bands, it may be worth the sacrifice. So. Behold the ties that bind. I think this is actually quite a smart move by WWE personally. I mean, the likeliness of no channel at least giving them some offer is pretty low. I think they'll have a few offers to dine around with. So, and with this network launching, they've got money going straight into their pocket and not going through other channels to do that. So, yeah. A big time for WWE. We're going to see what the future of their TV rights are going, but obviously. That's only in America that happens. In the UK and Ireland, it's the same as it ever been. If you want your wrestling, you go to Sky Sports. That's essentially it. And they've just signed a new really long contract with Sky Sports, so it'll be that way for the future. And probably past that as well. So that's our weekly news. There are other stuff, but I thought they were the most interesting, and we've got a bumper show here today. Yep. I think we spent about 20 minutes just on the news, so it was quite interesting. Any other news that you had to think of there, Matt, that you want to add on before we get into...
There's definitely nothing I can think of, no.
Yeah, I think that's the main stuff. All the other news are kind of involved in Raw, so we'll talk about that as we get into it. Also, at the end, just as well, we're not just only reviewing Raw. I'm not a big watcher. I was about to say big fan, but I am actually a fan of NXT. I'm not a big watcher of NXT, but they had their first big event this week as part of the network launching.
Pay-per-view?
Yeah, kind of sort of thing, even though you're not really paying for it sort of thing. Yeah, but I get what you mean. I get what you mean, yeah. It was, NXT ArRIVAL. We will be also reviewing that at the end of the show as well. We're going to go through some of the matches. So that's going to be our topic of this week, so you can get that as well. So you get 2 shows reviewed this week. Bumper edition on Let's Talk Wrestling. We are treating you guys because you've been so good to us, that's why. Now, this week's Raw. If you remember, Elimination Chamber was at the weekend. We watched it together for the first time in a very long time. Every now and then we do get a pay-per-view that we get to watch together. The last one we did was Payback. This pay-per-view was far better than Payback, let's just say that.
Oh, easily.
And obviously with the reason why this Raw is interesting is because this is the big one. This is the one that the first one that you can watch with the WWE Network. And it had a pre-show, which I think they're planning to do with all the Raws going from here on out.
Yeah, that was odd.
They referenced it a few times during the show. There was a match between Christian and Sheamus that was made from their, conflict at the pre-show, and I think there's other interviews and stuff like that. If there's extra time that WWE can have, and obviously on their network, they pretty much have infinite time to play with, then they're going to give you content. They've got enough people on the roster to come up with stuff, so... I'm all for it personally. If it improves the product, gives reason for some of these matches. Sometimes you have matches put on, and they're for no reason. If you have a little, 20-second segment backstage where these two guys decide they don't like each other, it gives us a little context, I guess. So they can
rather than just sort of pull it out of the hat.
Yeah, other than it's just Kofi Kingston against Antonio Cesaro. They're just going against each other because why not? Sort of thing. Yeah.
Why?
At least now they. I mean, you think 3 hours is long enough, but it just doesn't seem to be that way for WWE. So they have extra time now on their network to give these pre-shows and stuff. I would expect more pre-shows going forward. That seems to be the way they want to do things, and they've spent money on that swanky new WWE logo set on that pre-show. If you've noticed that, on Elimination Chamber and on this show as well. So the panel for the show was Booker T, the 6-time world champion.
Acceptable.
Yeah.
Always acceptable.
And then the Mac Daddy himself, Ric Flair.
Oh, yes.
So, pretty good panel, I think. Even though Booker T on a...
Are you sure about that? I'm guessing you didn't watch the pre-show.
I didn't watch the pre-show, no.
Okay, somebody else was on the panel.
Okay.
During the pre-show, but not main Raw.
Okay, go ahead. Who's that?
Do you want to take a stab in the dark? You haven't seen him in a while.
I don't know. Go on, tell me.
Alex Riley.
Really?
Yeah. And then I noticed that he wasn't on sort of like on the main panel for Raw, and I laughed. I was just like, you can't even get on the main as a panelist.
It would seem a bit odd, to be fair, to have Booker T, Ric Flair, and then Alex Riley. All respect to Alex Riley, he hasn't really earned that seat alongside them. But of what I've seen of Alex Riley when he's been commentating on stuff like Superstars, he's not too bad. He's all right. He's not insufferable, and he's improving. So. Fair play to Alex Riley. He's not languishing in the middle of nowhere like some of the wrestlers are. At least he's trying to do something there. So, I've got respect for Alex Riley as well, even though he hasn't really been wrestling at all for the last, 3 years sort of thing. At least he's trying to make some sort of niche for himself. But no, I get it. To be honest, I would have taken him out for Raw as well. It would have seemed like a bit of a. He would have shown up for all the wrong reasons. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Being next to those two guys. So yeah, this Raw opened up with the return of the Hulkster himself, Hulk Hogan. Returned to WWE. He was revealed about a week ago before Elimination Chamber to be the host for WrestleMania 30. They released the information out to all the news networks, which got them a bit of mainstream publicity, which will obviously get them a few more pay-per-view sales for WrestleMania. I get the reason for making him the host of WrestleMania 30, and to be honest, it makes sense. As much as you and me don't like Hogan, we'll go into the reason why we don't like Hogan before I continue. The reasons why we're not big fans of Hogan, well, I'll speak for myself personally, is that if there was a nuclear holocaust, Hulk Hogan would be the sole survivor, but the whole of humanity would die. And the reason for that, he's very good. He's very good for looking out for himself, but not the company around him, and that's stayed true throughout his entire career. The only company that hasn't failed that he's been in is WWE. You know what I mean? All the other ones that he's been involved in. And he looks out for himself, and that's it. And I guess, I can't really hate that, but the guy isn't a good wrestler. He hasn't been for decades, and a lot of his reasons of him being on TNA and stuff has just been quite insufferable and unbearable, the stuff that he's been involved in. So that's why I'm not a fan. I know that you don't, and you're not a big fan of Hogan.
That pretty much sits on the same sort of reasons. I mean, I can't deny that the guy is a great draw, and like he's definitely going to get sales, and it is a best for business decision. But I think it's just sort of sitting back and sort of looking in as like a fan who sort of knows. Yeah. It's sort of just like...
We're talking about a guy who would, because he had creative control in his contract in WCW, he would remove himself out of the weeks of Nitro that went 1-on-1 against the NBA playoffs, because he knew that WCW would get tanked in the ratings and he didn't want any part of that. So he'd come back the next week and he would say that he would be the reason why the ratings went up. It isn't, because there's no competition sort of thing.
Yeah.
He's very good at looking after himself. And listen, as much as we're not big fans of Hogan, morally or in terms of wrestling quality, we have to look at the facts. The guy is the biggest name in wrestling of all time. He is the biggest draw in wrestling of all time. That is the facts. That is how it is. We don't have to like him, but we have to respect the fact that he was such a huge name. And his name is somewhat synonymous with WrestleMania, at least in its early days. So to have him back as the host of WrestleMania 30, I have to admit, it kind of fits. I would do it if I was.
Oh yeah, definitely. It'd be a foolish decision not to.
Exactly. So that's one of the things that you get with the podcast if you're new to the podcast. Yeah, me and Matt might not like certain wrestlers, but we can detach ourselves a little bit from our emotions and say, well, actually, this is a good move. This makes the show better. Even though we may not like it, this will sell more tickets, sort of thing. So sometimes you get a lot of podcasts. I don't want to single out podcasts, but they get way too emotionally involved, and they're like, "Oh, this is going to be wrong," and everything. No, actually, if you look at it from this angle, it can work, sort of thing. So
yeah.
So let's talk about his actual promo on the show. He got a really good response as he came out, as you would expect, because he's not been there for too long.
Oh, definitely.
And the TNA crowd are not the WWE crowd. The WWE crowd are the general wrestling crowd. You do not get general wrestling fans going to TNA shows. That's their issue.
Yeah. So
they're all happy to see Hulk Hogan back, and he cut a promo about basically talking about the launch of the WWE Network. He fucked up the most pivotal line in this promo, where he basically said, "We're all here to celebrate the launch of the WWE Universe." He backtracked and tried to save it, which I think he kind of did. So I kind of.
And then he still failed a little bit.
Yeah, but then he reminded me of like a robot just spouting the words WWE Universe and WWE Network just over.
Yes, go say this.
Yeah. So I think maybe that little fucker kind of messed up his promo a little bit, and then he just tried to say WWE Network and Universe just as many times as he could.
Sure.
And me and Matt played a game during the Elimination Chamber of taking a swig of beer every time Network was done. We would have been smashed by the first 3 minutes of this show if that had been the case.
Definitely true.
If we had done it on this one, but I think we dodged a bullet there, Matt. I think we'd be alcohol poisoning by now. There we go. Especially on this show, there was more WWE Network stuff. So
Network. You don't know how to work your device. Here, let Uncle Michael tell you how.
Exactly. So yeah, I can't really complain with his. I mean, he wasn't out there for too long, and he got a good response. He got the crowd off to a good start.
That's it.
But yeah, I'm going to play that track at the start of the podcast just so you can hear that. His fucked up line, and the guy's probably rusty, but you'd expect something off of a veteran of that long anyway.
Yeah.
So. Obviously after the show, as you alluded to, which is a nice little segue, we had the obligatory tutorial of the network that came up. I thought this was quite funny when Lawler tried to load up a video of WrestleMania 28 and the network actually failed. It crashed
on him, yeah.
Yeah, it played like 2 seconds and then stopped, and he was like, what do I kind of do now? And they switched to like another console. But you can expect a lot more of these promos leading up to WrestleMania and even beyond. Even more than you would have grown accustomed to with the app. They want this to succeed way more than they wanted the app to succeed.
Yeah, definitely.
So get ready for that, Matt. We're going to see a lot more of network spiel.
Network.
Yeah, exactly. They get far more money from the network than they would do the app. So just look at that from that point of view, and how much WWE are going to push the network and how much they already have. Now, obviously, we think that network's pretty good, price-wise, but WWE want this to succeed, and they've got a lot of time on TV to tell you all the stuff about how to do it and everything. So this will not be the first of these promos going up, and unfortunately, that will be the case for people that, like us, can't get it, or obviously anyone that's technically minded in the world who knows how to work a search engine. Although I have to say, though, that JBL is quite funny, just viewing all the stuff that JBL had. You can see all his matches and everything.
JBL did this, JBL did that, JBL!
So, yeah, which kind of goes along with his character, and, you have to give him props for that, so that's fine.
Yeah.
First match on this show, from quite hot start with Hogan coming back, was Alberto Del Rio Batista 2, the match that we did not need to see again. We went through and reviewed their match on during the week.
Let's talk more, yeah.
Yeah, and we said it wasn't very good. It was too slowly paced.
Yep.
This one was more of the same, unfortunately.
Yes.
It wasn't good. Batista tanked out early. It looked like Del Rio wasn't really interested.
During his promo, it was just like, I love the company. It's like, easy, Dave.
Take a breather, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Now, I can't really argue with Batista being in the ring, because the only way he's going to get better and get that ring rust off is if he's in the ring. And he needs to do that before WrestleMania, because, man, they need to perform a fucking miracle to get the fans to turn on these two guys when they're in the ring at Mania. We could be looking at the biggest disaster of a match since Goldberg versus Lesnar at WrestleMania, which got booed to shit as well. So Del Rio got the victory here after Randy Orton made an interference. And he just literally got the roll-up victory, which, as we know, is the most deadly of all finishing maneuvers. After the match, Orton referenced the boos. Actually, he said that they, since Batista's returns, the crowd have not been too favourable towards him, and Batista referenced it as well. Instead of pandering to the crowd, he simply said that he'll boo them right back.
Yeah,
I actually quite like this. I mean, it's just not going to help the boos and or anything like this, but at least WWE. I mean, what WWE tend to do is that they will bury their head in the sand and ignore the fan response and just do whatever they're thinking of doing. At least they're actually changing and doing their promos down to what the fans are responding to.
Oh yeah,
which is going to make the whole show feel a little bit more organic, which is what I think WWE needs to strive towards. They've been trying to push too many people down people's throats, and they've had these new guys come in and people just generally like them. They have to go with that. I mean, obviously, yeah, as you said beforehand, he tanked during this promo and had to take quite a few breaks. How do you feel this promo as the start of these guys' feud?
It seemed fair enough. There wasn't so much. It was literally just like Orton just going like, "Bet you don't like being booed," and Batista just like, "Yeah, I don't care."
Yeah.
There wasn't a great deal of much else, really.
Yeah, exactly.
It was just like, I don't care if they boo me.
And that was essentially...
No, okay, you're not going to go for the belt? No, I don't care if they boo me.
Yeah. It was essentially along those lines, and the only thing I think about this is that they, like I said, they're going to have to perform a miracle. They're both going to have to learn magic to turn the crowd on their favour when they get to Mania. This promo started off their feud, but it didn't do anything to change anyone's minds about whether they're interested in this match or not. Now, one thing I want to reference this back to when we were saying about the Chicago fans planning to boo the entire show. I don't mind fans booing guys because they don't like them or anything like that. That's fine. They can do that as much as they like. But when they boo the whole show just for the sake of one person not being there because that's that person's choice, I think it's a little bit wrong, personally.
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make that reference because I knew someone was going to be like, "Oh, so you're fine with these guys booing?" I just wanted to explain that. I'll cover all bases. The next match, Big E versus Cesaro. Both of these guys maybe clambering and fighting each other for knowledge of where their names went. Maybe. Possibly. This is like another world-class match from Cesaro. I think he should get the name that Kurt Angle had, which is the Wrestling Machine, because you just stick him in there and he has a good match. That's just it.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
Easy as that.
And I have to give props to Big E as well. Yeah, Cesaro can have a good match, but you need to have someone in there good as well. Big E performed, to the quality of Cesaro in this match. And they had a really, really good match here, these guys. And Cesaro looked like he was getting close to the victory, and then Swagger came in to ruin proceedings. He put the Patriot lock on Big E, and Cesaro looked enraged, incensed, and rightly so, because he could have got a win over the IC champion.
Yep.
Now it's a shame for
it's quite odd. The thing I was quite surprised about actually watching that one is just like the difference between what Cesaro is doing now and what Cesaro was doing like the night before. It's just like,
yeah,
okay.
One thing I thought was a little bit bad for Cesaro and Cena on this match is that they kind of no-sold the cage match as well. Which is a bit of a thing, and Orton did that as well. I think the only people that actually sold it correctly was Christian and Sheamus. But personally, I thought it was a bit of a shame to end a really good match like this, but I can see why they did it, because it builds up what should be the rise of Cesaro breaking away from the Real Americans and and maybe going towards a face turn. I think that the guy's ready for it, and the reason I say that is because he comes to the ring, he gets cheered. He's supposed to be a heel, but people want to see
the people cheers are great.
Yeah, people want to see him wrestle, and you look at the stuff he's doing when he's doing all of his when he looks to the crowd for his big swing. That's pandering to the crowd to get them cheering. A lot of the stuff that he does. I mean, he's being booked like an absolute tank at the moment with all these matches that he's having. And let's face it, like I said, we've always said this before about the Divas division. If you wrestle well week in, week out, you'll get over, and that's exactly what Cesaro's done. He's been wrestling fantastic matches for about the last month, and he's fastly going up there towards one of my top guys. I'm really looking forward to every match that this guy has. And going on to NXT later, we'll talk about that match as well. He had another absolute showstopper. So, yeah, the rise of Cesaro. I hope. Listen, the guys. I don't know what these guys are smoking backstage to think that Cesaro is boring, but you can't watch any of these matches and say they're boring. You'll be wrong.
Definitely.
That's it. I mean, let's talk about Cesaro when he first debuted, actually. When he first debuted, I mean, I wasn't really sold on the guy. I didn't know much about his background or anything. I think you knew a little bit more than I did. But when he first came in... when he first came in, I wasn't too keen on the guy. But he's definitely proved me wrong in that sense. He's done well. How far do you think Cesaro can go from here?
I couldn't say. It's difficult. I'd love to see him like in the top tiers, and I reckon it could happen.
I think he's got more chance than Ziggler did.
Yeah, probably.
Because Ziggler's another one of those guys who had great matches and got himself over that way. But I just think the way that Cesaro wrestles makes it seem a little bit more legitimate. I think WWE are much more happier with that. I think with his last few matches as well, the word is backstage that that Cesaro's turned the corner in terms of who of the people that thought he was boring backstage. I think they're changing their mind.
Yeah, definitely.
That can only spell well for Cesaro because you can be a great wrestler, but you only go as far as WWE want you to go. So hopefully they'll give this time the guy, this guy the time that he needs and the push that he needs, because he'll give you great matches. I mean, he's proved that by now. So
that's it. Stick him in sort of like a ring, and he'll deliver.
Yeah, exactly. No matter who you put him in that ring with as well, he just seems to pull out good matches. So kudos to Cesaro, and I'm looking forward to many more good matches with him in the future. We had John Cena, who came out for a promo. One of the things that I really hate about John Cena, he did it here, is that he seemed really just all too happy, just smiles that he lost his chance.
I'm sorry, I kind of skipped this promo, but it may be just because I can pretty much tell you exactly what happened.
Yeah, okay, go on ahead. Try. I'll tell you.
I got screwed. I got attacked from behind. I could have won the chamber. Bray Wyatt, stop being a coward and hide behind. I'm in the ring, let's fight.
So he didn't really moan that he lost his chance at the title. He was just like, if there's a new generation, then they're going to have to go through me. So Bray Wyatt, you're going to have to go through me, sort of thing. That's one of the things I don't like about John Cena, is that he just doesn't seem to reference the fact. He just doesn't seem upset that someone cost him the chance to main event WrestleMania. He comes out like this all the time. He's all too happy. He did this once at WrestleMania when he won. I think he retained the belt against Shawn Michaels. It was the main event of WrestleMania, so one of the biggest matches of your career, right? But he just sat in the ring looking depressed.
Just like, man.
And I was like, come on, man. You're supposed to be building this up as one of the biggest matches of your life, and he doesn't seem like he cares anymore.
Yeah.
Which, in all fairness, he's been so many main events and title matches. Yeah. So. Yeah, he spoke about that, and then he called out Bray Wyatt, and Wyatt was happy to come out, and his promo was very good.
Yes,
his promo was pretty much exactly what I've wanted in this feud that they made up, because I think that Bray Wyatt can promo pretty heavy on John Cena, and the stuff that you're saying here was pretty good. Cena. Yeah. He did his usual spiel back, but I think that Cena can actually do some good promos against Bray Wyatt in the coming weeks. I do think that. I mean, we're not too hot on Cena either, but I can't deny he's good on the mic when he wants to be, and he could definitely do a good set of promos against Wyatt if he gets creative enough. Mm-hmm. So the Wyatts proceeded to attack John Cena. They injured him, kayfabe.
Yep.
He is not injured, for all the people that thought he was. He did sell it very well, so kudos on him, I guess. But he injured, with quotations, his leg, and the Wyatts just proceeded to beat him up, and Sister Abigail as well, from Bray Wyatt. It sets up their match at WrestleMania, which looks like it would be Bray Wyatt against John Cena. I'd hate it now if they just did John Cena against the Wyatt family and John Cena went over all those guys. I wouldn't put it past WWE, but.
Yeah, because we've had that.
Yeah, I wouldn't like
that.
So,
faction? Fuck your factions. 7
men against 1, the Nexus against John Cena? That's impossible. They would need 40 men. No, just go. Yeah. So, I think this is actually a rivalry that could do really good for Cena. If he chooses to thrive in it, he could very easily get over-promoted by Bray Wyatt. That's what I think.
Easily, yeah.
So... I thought that was a good enough segment as you can. Obviously, the storyline is, will John Cena be back quick enough? Will he be able to get over this injury quick enough to face the might of Bray Wyatt? And they may use that injury, hopefully, to give Bray Wyatt the win over Cena at Mania. And how much would that catapult Bray Wyatt if he beats Cena at Mania? Yeah. Injury or not, that would be huge. You know what I mean? If they oversell the injury. The next match on the night was Christian versus Sheamus, and I have to give props to these guys. Before they came out, they actually sold the Elimination Chamber beating.
Yep.
The rest of them all came out. I mean, John Cena ran out. He was all too happy just to run out after the Chamber. These guys looked like they had been through a war, and they sold it as if they had been. So kudos to them. All the other guys involved in that match should have done the same thing. I don't know why they didn't, but there we go. These guys put on a pretty good match. It was a lengthy one.
Yep, that's true.
And some good action to be had here. This Sheamus got the victory after Christian jumped off the top rope and received a massive boot into the face. and there's no way you can do that and make it not look as if it fucking hurt. So kudos to them anyway. There was a good match and a good ending to that match. All I can think of actually is whenever something like that happens, I just get flashbacks to Shawn Michaels' Sweet Chin Music, Shelton Benjamin off that fucking that springboard.
Glorious.
I think the best thing I ever saw of that was someone like remixed it. So when he hit that super kick, it was the Grand Theft Auto Death tune that would come up. I thought that was pretty awesome. I think
so fitting.
It's so fitting, yeah. Now I don't know what they're going to do with these guys for Mania. The reason I bring this up is because we know Triple H and Sheamus are buddy, and Triple H will try and find a place for at least Sheamus on the roster.
Yeah.
Don't know about Christian. Christian may fall on the wayside. And before you say it, no, Christian versus Sheamus at WrestleMania, that would just plug up the card with a meaningless match. I wouldn't want it. I don't put it past them booking it, but I wouldn't want it. I don't know why you would book that match. Is that something that you'd be excited to see, a Christian Sheamus WrestleMania match?
I don't see a reason for it, so no, I can't really get excited for it.
No. And to be fair, it'd be very hard for these guys to top the match that they had here. In terms of quality, I think that's as far as their chemistry will get them.
Yeah.
And because we've already got the match free on Raw, why would we want it again? Sort of thing. At least this soon, close to WrestleMania anyway.
True.
So, yeah, we'll see what the plan is with like I said, Christian, he might not get on the show, but Sheamus, I think they're going to try and find a way for him to get on the card, but they're leaving it quite late to do anything with Sheamus at this point.
Yeah.
So they showed a promo from early on that night. I think this was done at the pre-show as well. I can't confirm that because I didn't watch it. Because I couldn't, because I wasn't on the network. Daniel Bryan basically interrupted an interview between Renee Young and Triple H and Stephanie, and they were talking about the WWE Network. Another reference there.
Yep.
Actually, if anyone actually did the drinking game of drinking every time the WWE Network was referenced, leave a comment, because I would like to raise a glass to you, because I think you're a soldier. I really think so. Or go back and do it, and then tell us that you did it, and then I'll raise my glass to you. If you're alive, because that could kill you. Anyway,
it's a lot of mention.
Yeah. He demanded a match with... as they were talking about this, Daniel Bryan came up and he demanded a match with Triple H. He called him a coward, said that, why won't you face me at WrestleMania? Triple H laughed him off as if he was nothing and said that he'll try and find a place on the card for him. Which is what he's trying to do. The fact is, imagine if WWE did not book Daniel Bryan to a match at WrestleMania. That's basically throwing money out the window. I know they won't do it, but that's what they're doing storyline anyway. I know it sets up their feud, these guys, but I mean, this close to WrestleMania, I'd be expecting Triple H to want to fight Daniel Bryan.
Yeah.
To have the feud really build up, because you can
have
it
one sort of like last minute go, yeah, I'll fight you. It's like, it's not really.
Then it's like, if you didn't want the match, then what's the point, sort of thing. And
yeah.
I would want Triple H to want to beat up Daniel Bryan and stop his momentum. Maybe putting it on a match, if they're just going to have a one-on-one match, maybe have it so if Triple H beats him, Daniel Bryan's fired, and that way you get like a stipulation into that match. You may not even need it, but personally, I mean, one of the things that we said beforehand at Elimination Chamber is that this isn't really the match that we want Daniel Bryan to be involved in. And I don't think beating Triple H gives the fans the payoff that they want, unless it's a squash match. And let's get real, Triple H is not going to let himself get squashed by Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania. So it's going to be an even match, and maybe Daniel Bryan will edge it, that sort of thing. I wouldn't even put it over Triple H, putting himself to win, because he's done that before.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember this, but when CM Punk did his Pipe Bomb promo and he came back as a massive face, he got powerbombed by Kevin Nash, and then because Nash got injured, he faced Triple H. You'd think with Punk going through his rise that Punk would get the win over the part-time Triple H. No, he actually lost. So there you go. That's how it goes, and so I wouldn't put it past Triple H getting himself the victory, but we'll see how it goes from there. Are you, at the very least, looking forward to a Triple H Daniel Bryan match, or do you think there's anything involving Daniel Bryan is worth watching, even if it could be better?
Anything involving Daniel Bryan, really.
Yeah.
It could be good. I mean, Triple H matches have always been good, as of late. Like, for the ones that he's sort of come back for nothing more than, like, a feud or something like that, it's always been good.
Yeah, I mean, when he comes back, some of his matches have been a bit wobbly. But I know what you mean. He's trying to. At the end of the day, Triple H being there is kind of a special attraction because he doesn't wrestle that much. I think he's trying to treat himself the same that they treat Undertaker, which is a shame. I think one of the things with Triple H is that he's always kind of come like he's always almost like trying to be emulating or trying to be someone. Or trying to, go along the same sort of idea as someone, but he's always been second fiddle. He's always tried to be Ric Flair. You can't be Ric Flair. No one can be Ric Flair.
Oh, I spent so long following Ric Flair. Oh, so you think you are Ric Flair? Yeah. No.
He's tried to outperform Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania. Good luck, ain't gonna happen. He tried to had better matches with the Undertaker than Shawn Michaels had. Didn't happen.
Ain't gonna happen.
And now he's trying to treat himself like a special attraction, like the Undertaker. Sorry, ain't gonna happen. People get much more excited for Undertaker to come back than Triple H will, so that's the way it goes. But yeah, it's not the match that we really want, and unfortunately, because I don't think the fans are going to be happy with the payoff. They'll chant because Daniel Bryan won't endorse the match, but unless it's like a bloodbath or like something, or like make it like a no DQ match where Daniel Bryan overcomes all the odds to beat Triple H, then I don't see the payoff being as good as what it could be. Imagine having that final, finale at WrestleMania 30, the next generation, the new era, having Daniel Bryan win the belt and having all those fans in that arena shouting yes at the same time. It would have been a really good ending to that show. But the fact is, that will not be the ending to the show. In fact, that's like almost like the third main event now because of what happened later on. So we'll see how it goes from there. The Black History Month continued. This is the last sort of promo in the Black History Month. Rocky Johnson and Tony Atlas was the patrons of this week.
That's it.
They got their video package. When I look at these guys, I mean, obviously a lot of these promos were done with guys that are kind of past mine and Matt's era. So we can't really go back and watch too much of this.
I think Tony Atlas and Rocky Johnson. Yeah, that's kind of one of them.
It's literally just before you and me sort of started getting into it. But you look at these guys, and these guys were absolutely statues. They were very big guys, very impressive looking, and you look at them now and you can think their presence can still be felt today to an extent. Atlas is still around every now and then. You can see him in, he was recently involved, as a manager on I think like NXT and. No, this is like a couple of years ago. I'm saying, he was involved there, and he was managing Mark Henry for a while, if you remember that as well.
Oh God, yeah.
So he has been around. So his name is still around there. And Rocky Johnson fathered one of the greatest personalities in wrestling we've ever seen. You will know him as The Rock. So, yeah. These guys have, they won the tag team championship belts. They paved the way, a lot of people would say, for African Americans to pursue, wrestling in that sense. But we can't talk too much. There's been a few in the Black History Month that we've been able to talk about a bit more in depth. One of them is, I'm trying to remember his name now. It's going to kill me. The guy we referenced last week. Damn.
Ron Simmons.
Ron Simmons. How can I forget his name? I've got so much information going through my name. Yeah, Ron Simmons. We could talk a lot more about him because we
got in one word instantly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, we could talk about Ron Simmons or Farouk, as some people may know him as, a lot more because we knew he's wrestling. But these guys not so much. We're not going to just flap our mouths and talk about guys that we don't know about without having our facts straight, or at least watching the matches beforehand. So
yeah.
But yeah, you can still see their influences somewhat today, and we'll go from there. So, next part of the show, the Shield were arguing over their failure of the night prior.
Mm-hmm.
If you remember, Ambrose went missing in action. He just disappeared, and he referenced this in this promo. He still didn't actually tell us where he went. He just said that.
He's just like, I keep saying it. It's like, what do you mean you keep saying it? Like, well, I've got no idea what's wrong.
Yeah, I don't know where you ended up. So yeah, he got really annoyed and he left. He walked out. So Rollins and Reigns were kind of bitching under their breath about him.
Yeah.
But before they could talk about too much, they were confronted by the Wyatt family through the darkness. The cackle of Bray Wyatt through the.
That's it.
Through the darkness. He spoke to Roman Reigns, and Roman Reigns was very upset that he interrupted him, and he decided to challenge Bray Wyatt to a match later on in that night. Wyatt accepted. Now, this just seemed like it is the match that we would want, because obviously they had the 6-man tag match beforehand. You just don't want to give us the same match again so soon. So having Reigns against Wyatt is probably the best match for these two factions that you can get at the moment.
Definitely.
No, that makes it seem as if I'm saying, it's the best.
But then we're saying that, and then considering the showing that Rollins put on at Elimination Chamber, I'd see him wrestle again.
I would as well, but listen, like we know
for the moment,
we know for sure that the two biggest names in these two factions are Bray and Roman Reigns. So
yeah,
it goes from there. I was quite excited for this match, and rightfully so, because I think we haven't seen much of Reigns as a singles competitor. If we're going to see him rise to the top, he needs time in the ring with the likes of Bray Wyatt, who I think is much more adept to wrestling one-on-one than Reigns would be. So it set up a pretty interesting main event, actually, and one I was quite excited to see. I will say that one of these years, maybe 3-4 years down the line, we may have a Wyatt versus Reigns WWE title match in the future. I would not put that. I would not put that too far away. So we may be having a glimpse of a future big rivalry. Yeah. The pre-show panel was shown officially on the show. We obviously referenced this beforehand. Booker T is I find Booker T, because obviously he's been on commentary, he's a little bit unbearable at times, his commentary with Booker T. But Ric Flair was as fun as ever. He started doing the yes chants and then started saying woo, so it was a mix of woo and yes in the crowd, which was brilliant.
Yeah.
Now I do like this section of the show. I do like the pre-show panel and all this lot. Even though sometimes they can be cringeworthy, I think it's kind of worth it. I do. It makes the show seem more professional, I think. You get this panel talking about the matches, giving their own. It makes it, if they're going for a more legitimate feel, this is the sort of thing they do in sports. They go to a panel and they talk about it at the mid-time and talk about the things that happen in the matches and stuff like that. So if they want to make it seem more legitimate, then this will do wonders to help that. They'll talk about at the moment they're just talking about certain things that they've been tending to say, but if they give them a bit more time and actually talk about parts in the matches and say, this is where Cesaro turned the tide and stuff like this, and this is when the match was won, and this is the small little things like that, it'll make it seem more legitimate. They make a more sort of push towards that side, and I think this would be better personally. Especially when you look at the stiff wrestling the likes of Daniel Bryan, Cesaro are promoting, then you could do that.
Definitely,
you can do that.
Especially you've got Sheamus as well as a prime example as a sort of like a stiff contact wrestler.
Yeah.
A lot of the guys with kicks.
Yeah.
To be fair.
But that's the sort of style of wrestling that the fans are responding to. You have to move with the times. So if they go towards that and say, look at these kicks from Daniel Bryan, how much they hurt, show some really good slow-mo shots and get the likes of... Can you imagine having like HBK or Ric Flair talking about how... endorsing these moves from these guys and saying this is how you win matches, sort of thing. It makes it seem more legit.
Yeah.
And part of wrestling is suspending your belief and thinking that these two guys are actually trying to fight each other to win a match. So doing as much as you can to promote that, then that's always good.
Yeah, definitely.
So we had the match that was inevitable, especially if they're going to do a Triple H Daniel Bryan match. You'd have to get through Kane first. It was Daniel Bryan against Kane.
Yep.
Daniel Bryan was sporting the same bandage over his shoulder that he had from the night prior, as he got beaten up pretty badly on his shoulder throughout this match and the match before.
That definitely got it's been targeted throughout.
Yeah, exactly. Which is good storytelling in matches, and something that WWE haven't really done much of the last few years, and they're doing it more and more and more. So kudos to them for that. I'm giving a lot of kudos to WWE this week. It was
going back to basics.
Yeah, basic wrestling, good wrestling. That's what we need. These two put on a decent enough match. I will say that maybe I hyped myself up and thinking that these guys could perform a really good 5-star match, but I have to say that after watching the match, I'm not in any rush to go back and watch it again. Are you under the same thoughts?
That's true.
Do you think it was a lot better?
I can kind of agree with that. I don't think you're going to see a 5-star match out of them without paying for it.
Yeah, which isn't going to happen anytime soon. The way they're doing Kane, and Kane actually, I have to say, wrestled for a very long time in what seemed like a business suit bottom half anyway. So
sort of like suit trousers. Doesn't bother me.
I thought fair enough, if he's going to do that, come out as corporate Kane, then if he's at least scheduled for a match, he'd come out with his gear, not have his mask on, sort of thing. Which he's been doing at live shows, but it just seemed like he came out. That's probably his new wrestling gear now anyway, as his corporate Kane. But Daniel Bryan beats Kane with the big knee to the face.
With what usually isn't actually a finisher for him.
Well, he beat John Cena with it, so I guess it's good enough to beat the likes of Kane.
Yeah.
And that's one of his moves that he does. He tries to promote more in that. I mean, I personally am a big fan of the label lock, or the yes lock as he calls it now. He's gone through so many changes of name. It was like the label lock, then the yes lock, then the no lock. Now it's the yes lock. So
and now he's back to the yes lock. Yeah.
So
you're gonna try and keep anything up? No.
But I can't remember him beating anyone recently with the yes lock, and that's supposed to be his main finisher. So
yeah,
we'll see anyway.
That's true.
I think it's good that he's got a move that finishes off people in a hit, and he's got a submission finisher as well. It does good when you've got both. So yeah, after the match, Daniel Bryan took the mic. He said that Triple H was a coward, that he hides behind his wife's skirt, and he got a nice big pop for that. A nice big sort of from the crowd, as you would expect. It's like a free shot. If you want to get to Triple H, just say something about him, like his balls being in Stephanie's
just like
pocket.
dog on Stephanie. It's just like, oh.
Yeah, you get that instant response. He said that Triple H needs to give the fans what they want, Bryan versus Triple H at Mania. Now, there may be what some of the fans want. That's not what I want, but...
Nope. I'll accept it.
They want Daniel Bryan to endorse that match as much as they can, so it does get big, but... Nah, I'd much rather have Bryan in that. Put him in that main event, it fixes it automatically, because you get Bryan to win, and he wins the belt, you get the big payoff at the end, and that way you don't have to worry about your big title match being crapped on, because they're not going to boo all the way through, they're going to cheer and Bryan gets the upper hand.
Oh, yeah.
So... that was, we've always talked about that rivalry in beforehand, so we won't go too much again, we won't repeat ourselves. We had another Alexander Rusev promo. We'll talk about him later because he was much more involved in NXT, but they're building him up. I think they're probably going to hold him off now until probably after WrestleMania, or it might have something to do with WrestleMania. I'm not sure. I personally,
it's a tough one.
I would personally hold off.
It's close enough to sort of go, well, it'll probably be after, but it's been going on long enough that it's like...
I would hold him off for the Raw after Mania. That seems like a good enough night to do it. And make him come in and just wreck people like Brock Lesnar did when he debuted.
Yeah.
I know technically Rusev's already debuted. He was at the Royal Rumble, but they're doing these promos to kind of give him his debut again, sort of thing. So they're getting him getting people to know his name, and then they're going to really properly debut him. Let him come out during a tag team match and just decimate people. He's big enough for it. You could have Lana at the side giving him orders, and I think this guy has got a lot more chance of getting over. But we'll talk about him more anyway as the NXT, because he had a lot more to do with NXT than this show. Then we had Emma against Summer Rae. Emma's first match on Raw. She had a proper entrance with the NXT entrance, with all the bubbles and the dancing and her trying to sneak through the ropes as she got in, and looking very clumsy and stuff. Which is all part of her gimmick. Some people obviously that don't know her or haven't watched NXT, they're like, "Oh, that was botched."
The ditzy one.
No, that was meant. She always does it that way. So that's the way that Emma is.
That's how Emma gets in the ring. Just accept it.
This match wasn't very good, though, unfortunately. It didn't...
No, I was expecting better things as a watcher of NXT, and sort of having to see Emma and Summer Rae can actually have good matches. Am I going to see one? No.
Yeah. I think the match went on for about maybe 3 minutes, maybe. And half of that was just Emma taunting her with dancing, and Summer Rae doing dancing, and then they had a little bit of a fight. Emma did an Emma lock at the end and got the tap out and got the win. And obviously they're continuing this storyline of Emma and Santino being smitten with each other.
Yeah. And look, they fell over again. What a funny creature she is.
Yes.
Can't even jump on Santino.
Yeah, we're not laughing. Especially when you look at the match that she had on NXT, which we'll talk later on. It's like black and white. They're just two completely different things. You've got greatness and dump in one. It's not her fault. You can't have. What good of a match can you do when they tell you, all right, you've got 3 minutes, but you need to incorporate the dancing in the first minute of that match. You've got no time. So and Summer Rae as well, we've seen her wrestle in NXT, and she's wrestled well. She's good enough, so these girls can have good matches. I've watched them have good matches with each other. This was not
a good match.
Unfortunately, I think it's the wrong time for Emma to debut this close to WrestleMania. She's more likely going to get swallowed up. But we'll see how it goes on from there. I think she's good enough to get herself through that. And hopefully her dancing gimmick can get over and more people get involved. At the moment, it's still a bit dead when she comes out. Not a lot of people are...
It doesn't work on live.
No, it doesn't. But fingers crossed. We're big fans of Emma here.
That's it.
Maybe they just decide to copy and paste the NXT rivalry page and put it on Raw. If they do that with the time, then that's fine. That'd be great. Well, we'll talk about that match later on as well. The Usos next against the New Age Outlaws.
Blink and you miss it.
Yeah, I can't really call this a match, really. I guess legally it is, but it was almost like that Brock Lesnar Big Show match at Royal Rumble. Yeah, the actual match of it wasn't any part of it. What did you think of this anyway, in regards to this?
What was the point?
Well, I think the point is that they're still continuing the feud with the Usos, aren't they? And they still get a victory.
I gathered as much, but that's just like, why? At least have a match. Not like, the bell rings as Road Dogg's doing his usual sort of speech. It's like, oh, really?
Yeah. The problem is they actually got booed when they attacked the New Age Outlaws during their promo. So I don't think that was particularly the response that people wanted. But
so you don't interrupt Road Dogg.
Yeah. But the thing is, with Road Dogg as good as he is on the mic, that one of the things that they come up with on this route is they're going to say, well, you jumped us, you didn't earn, your next title shot, which would probably be at Mania. But at least, one of the criticisms we said of their match at the Elimination Chamber, where New Age Outlaws won, is that we can understand if they win, if the Usos go to get the final payoff victory at WrestleMania, and it looks like it's going that way, so really we can't say too much bad about it.
Not digging it too much. Yeah.
They could have done something else apart from just. It made the Usos seem really heel.
I'll tell you what though, if it's like the WrestleMania kickoff, I'm gonna fucking kill someone.
I get the feeling it will be though, unfortunately. But we'll see how it goes there. Because the tag team title match has been the pre-show in a lot of WrestleManias, so we'll see how it goes there. They unified the tag titles on a fucking
on a pre-show, Pre-show. That was just ridiculous.
Yeah. Or even, talking about talking about the Usos and pre-shows. They went against the Shield on a pre-show and had one of the matches of the year on a pre-show. I think the Usos are a bit better than that now. The problem is they're not going to have the same quality of match that they had with the Shield than they're going to have with the New Age Outlaws. It's just not going to happen. They're not.
Definitely not.
And it's not their fault. It's just the New Age Outlaws haven't been great since they came back in the ring. Nor would you expect them to be, because how long they have been since past their prime.
Well, that's it. I think Road Dogg made a comment whilst he was on commentary about the old age Outlaws. It's like, well, it's true. You are past your prime.
Yeah. And I don't have, like I said before anyone starts, I don't have a problem with them being champions. In fact, it kind of makes sense if they're gonna they took it off of the faces to give it back to another face pair, especially if they're going to break up the Brotherhood, which looks like they're going to be their long-term plan anyway. But it's I think that cage match is still sour in our mouth that they had. Which is one of the worst.
That was just awful.
So less said about that, the better. We had the main event, the Roman Reigns Bray Wyatt match. Now I have to say that while I was quite excited for this match, but the fans didn't seem that hot into it. I have to admit,
no, it definitely took some time, didn't it?
Yeah, it took some time for the fans to get into it. They did a little bit towards the middle and end of this match. But yeah, I was expecting a bigger response, especially as the night before the fans were literally drooling for these two factions to kill each other.
Of it, yeah.
And we got a "This is awesome" chant before the match had started. That go to basically nothing when this match started. It was a little bit eerie. It felt a little bit wrong. But Reigns, as I said before, he needs a little bit more time as a singles competitor to really iron out those creases. He'll do it. He's fine. He's got enough, and he wasn't bad. He wasn't bad in this match. There were good spots and everything. I just think that you spend so long in a team, you need to start having some good singles matches to really get used to that style of wrestling. And he'll get there. I'm sure he will. So this match wasn't particularly awesome, but it was not bad by any means. It's still watchable. It's still fine.
Still a good match.
The end of the match, the Wyatt family intervened, prompting Seth Rollins to come in for the save. Eventually, after a few minutes, Ambrose also came in as well.
Yep, yes, he did.
Yeah, they cleared the ring, and
seems that Ambrose had his blood up and just cost the match.
He didn't cost the match on this one.
He did.
Oh, did he? Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
He touched Bray Wyatt. Didn't he?
Yeah. Okay, yeah. But I don't think that was as much of an issue as other stuff like that, because obviously the attack had already happened and stuff like that. The shit had already hit the fan at that point. So they looked unified at the end of the show. We know that's not the case, but they have already announced that there's going to be a Chamber rematch on next week's Raw. They're going to have the Wyatts and Shield 2. Which is fine with me, because I'm happy if they have another match against each other. I really am, because
that's it.
Why the hell not? I expect that match to actually be the self-destruction of the Shield, and that will bring the match at Mania to fruition. So
that's it. To allow Mania to close it out. Like.
Yeah, I mean, we were shocked that it didn't happen actually after the Elimination Chamber, but I guess there's only so many weeks that you can play out having the Shield break up and not have a match against each other. Maybe they think they need 2 less weeks. Sometimes a program needs less time. Sometimes if you have a program for too long, it just doesn't work as well. And I agree with this one. I think if you break up the Shield,
this one would have to be like literally like weeks, like a week or 2 weeks before.
Yeah,
I think it's just like if you sort of started the breakdown of the Shield to the point of destruction of the team, like to do it a month before Mania would just be detrimental to the whole thing. It's just sort of like, just fight already, for fuck's sake.
It's really hard to book a faction imploding when you've got 3 people and you have to book it over a space of 4 weeks, because you can't have like one-on-one match but the other person's watching and one-on-one match and the other person's watching, because then you lose that spark of these guys fighting each other. You need to have it break up soon. They're like, okay, this is the way we deal it. WrestleMania, the 3 of us all against each other, winner shows who's the strongest of the Shield, and they go from there. Now,
essentially sort of like a winner takes all sort of thing.
Yeah. Now we know that Bray Wyatt will be facing John Cena at WrestleMania, so they're not going to have, and the fact they're having this match now, rather, is more sort of the final nail in the coffin of us having a rematch at WrestleMania between these 2 factions. But that's okay. That's fine with me. At least we got these matches. I mean, beforehand, the whole Wyatt versus Shield match was like a dream match, and I'm just happy that we got that at least once, and we're going to get it twice. So
yeah,
that's fine. Yeah, and just to answer that as well, that like I said, I do believe Roman Reigns, more matches, having single matches, he'll iron out those creases, and he'll make it so that the matches will get turned around a lot quicker than this one. It definitely seemed that Bray Wyatt was more adept to the single match than Roman Reigns was, but that's okay. Final segment, which was pretty decent, I have to say. Brock Lesnar. Give us your best Paul Heyman, Brock Lesnar.
My best Paul Heyman?
Yeah, go on.
Brock Lesnar.
Okay, that's pretty good. Yeah, pretty
cool.
Good. So Brock Lesnar comes out for an open contract signing with Paul Heyman at his side. I thought Paul Heyman was brilliant here. He was basically saying in his promo that he makes it seem in all his promos that there's no one better than Brock Lesnar. Like, he is the beast. Like, no one can even touch this guy, sort of thing. I love the fact that he does that.
And he just plays him so strong. It's just like, just with words, and it's just like, nobody's worthy. Like, we're here just because we want to make history, because just a regular fight counts for nothing.
Yeah, that's it. And Lesnar and Paul Heyman seemed very irked that they were told that they're going to have a match against anyone apart from the WWE Championship match, and they choose not to. They were like, okay, we're just going to leave. If you're not going to have Lesnar in a title match, then you won't get Lesnar.
If you're not going to take it seriously, then you don't get it.
Yeah, you don't get a Lesnar match at WrestleMania. And then the lights go out, and we hear the famous dong as the Undertaker makes his return to a good fan response, as he always gets. And he comes in, and then once he gets into the ring, Brock Lesnar is basically salivating, and so is Paul Heyman. He's like, "Yep, okay, I want this match. Do it." And they were going,
quick. Where's the contract?
Yeah, Lesnar could not wait to sign it and basically shove it, the pen in his hand and everything like that. So he does that. He signs it. He shoves the pen into Undertaker. Undertaker decides, okay, I'm going to stab you with my pen into his hand, and then chokeslams Brock Lesnar through the table. Now, this is the match that fans want to see. This is a match that could be a really good match at WrestleMania between these two. But this is the real main event at WrestleMania. This is no other way of thinking about it.
You talk Mania, you talk take a streak match.
Yeah. And the fact is that they're more likely what they're going to do. They're not going to have Undertaker Lesnar finish the show. I don't think so anyway. They're more likely going to have Batista Orton finish the show. You really couldn't book it worse if that's the case, because you're going to have all these fans going mental for Lesnar Undertaker. They're not only going to be spent for the Batista Randy Orton match, they're just not going to want to see it.
They're going to be tired for a match that they don't really want.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's just like,
now, when I'm tired,
when
I'm tired and I have to do something I don't want to do, I become a cantankerous bastard. So can you expect like a whole 70, 80,000 fans being like that? Yeah.
You're gonna cheer? Fuck off.
Yeah. So Yeah, there's absolutely no chance of this match getting booed like the WWE title match will likely be at WrestleMania 30. This is a match that we want to see, and a match that I'm happy that they're doing.
That's it.
The only thing I could say is that Undertaker, I have to blame like kayfabe news for this. I think they put it up on one of the memes pages that they did. They put Uncle Fester from Adam's Family as a picture on, and that struck my funny nerve. But apart from that, yeah, Undertaker was pretty much bald. He had a little bit of a mohawk,
like he did when he was last around before he left.
Yeah, except I think his beard was a bit more prominent. I don't mind the appearance change with Undertaker. You know, he only shows up for a month out of every year to do the WrestleMania feuds.
Period.
So it's not that bad. I don't mind. So. Yeah, that particular segment of the show was really good. I really like the way they did that, and it really builds up well towards the WrestleMania match. And just think, we had last year, we had the likes of Paul Heyman, doing promos against Undertaker for CM Punk. Now we're going to have it all again, and the stuff that Paul Heyman can do on the mic against someone like the Undertaker is brilliant. So
just the stuff that Paul Heyman can do.
Yeah. Exactly. He is a magician with the microphone. I'm sure he could make that fucking thing levitate if he wanted to. I'm pretty sure he could.
That's it. He has that power.
He rubbed the microphone the right way, and it would just levitate for him to speak into. The genie of the microphone, is it?
His command.
Exactly. So. Yeah, that was your Raw. It was a pretty decent Raw. There was a lot of stuff to be said on it. Really jam-packed show with lots of build-up. Obviously, you'd expect it. Not only for the build-up towards WrestleMania 30, which is big enough in itself, but it also was the first show on the network, so they wanted to start off strong. So they gave you a lot of segments here. They gave you a lot of matches. And I think the standout match of the show would have to go to, I think, Big E Cesaro.
Yeah, I could agree with that.
I don't think Reigns and Wyatt was good, but it wasn't great. And the same thing for the Daniel Bryan Kane match. I'm in no rush to see that again. But if I was to go back and watch a match, I think it would be Big E versus Cesaro, which is good. That's just more testament to how we're behind Cesaro to do well, because he's doing fantastic. I hope they find some match for him at Mania. I really do.
It'd be a real shame if we didn't actually have Cesaro on the card.
It would. I have to say, because you could think as the kind of the crowd responding to his style of wrestling, or him going for the big swing at WrestleMania or something like that.
Yeah.
Everything like this. So, but it's where do you put him? You don't really want him to feud.
Yeah, it's always the downside.
You don't want him to feud against Jack Swagger, because I'm sorry, Cesaro and Swagger isn't big enough for WrestleMania. It isn't. So who does he go against? Maybe you put him against Big E again, and he wins the IC belt. Maybe and he goes on an IC belt run for a while.
Yeah, but there's rumours of Harper Rowan versus Rollins and Reigns, and Ambrose and Big E go to unify lesser titles.
I guess that could work, but where does that leave Cesaro again? That's our main question. So
Yeah.
this week on Raw, obviously the proposed hijacked Chicago Raw will give us a little bit more indication about where these other guys are going to be going, and they've got these other rivalries locked down. I think the quicker that WWE lock down their lesser rivalries, they won't fall into the same pit trap that they did last year, where they put all their stock behind CM Punk, Undertaker, Triple H, Lesnar, and Rock and Cena. And like all those other matches on the card just didn't get any love at all. They didn't get anything really. So the more they do that and they give time to these lesser matches, then you'll have a crowd that's really hot for when those main events come around, and then you'll have a stronger show overall. One of the reasons why WrestleMania 17 stands out as one of the greatest WrestleManias of all time isn't because Rock and Austin was like an instant classic, which, it was a great match, but it's because all the other matches on the show were just as good as the main event. So you need to have everything just as good as that. So we'll see how WWE go. We were very critical of last year's WrestleMania because they packed the show, but then didn't give any of the matches apart from CM Punk, Undertaker, and Cena and Rock 2 time to shine, and even then that time that Cena and Rock got, they didn't really use that well. So hopefully they put the matches that we want to see on there and give them time, rather than just putting 11, 12 matches on there that will be over in 5 minutes. That's not what WrestleMania is about. It's not another pay-per-view. You want to have big, epic matches not lots of
That's
little
it.
matches. So
It's all definitive stuff as well.
exactly.
It's the proper sort of curtain call for like all stories and things like that.
Yeah, all your major storylines should finish here and begin anew the day after WrestleMania. So we'll see how it goes there anyway. I hope that they give the likes of Cesaro, who has earned, I think, a spot at WrestleMania, a decent enough match to be involved. One way that you do it is that you make a Money in the Bank ladder match, which I think was one great way of getting all the guys to have at least one big spot at WrestleMania. You had it at the Money in the Bank ladder
Even
match.
like everyone, even sort of like, I wouldn't say the lesser guys, but
The mid-carders.
Your mid-cards and below sort of gave them their opportunity to sort of have their WrestleMania moment.
Exactly. Yeah.
And to be fair, with it only being the one WWE World Heavyweight Champion, you don't really need 2 Money in the Bank matches at a pay-per-view, do you?
Yeah, but I think they do such good business with the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, they're not going to get rid of it. Which I think is a shame. I think WrestleMania as a whole would be stronger with that Money in the Bank match, and I think all the Money in the Bank matches at WrestleMania have been entertaining.
I don't know about you, but I was really pissed when they said, when I was like, oh yeah, we're not having Money in the Bank at Mania anymore. It's like, what?
Yeah. It seems
but it's an opening benchmark.
It was, and it became like a staple. You'd expect it to be a really good match, and the crowd are always really hot for it as well. And they are now on the pay-per-view, but they're not going to get rid of one of their pay-per-views that does really good business. They're going to keep that, which is a shame. So Raw overall, I think, is well worth watching. There's a lot of stuff to watch, a lot of action to be had here, and there is a few good matches to be had. However, in terms of a show with really good wrestling, Raw was not the one to watch. Oh no. It was NXT ArRIVAL. If you want to see really good wrestling, you should have watched NXT ArRIVAL this week. A match which is quite ironic because I've watched NXT ArRIVAL, but I rarely watch NXT. Matt has only seen clips of NXT ArRIVAL, and he always watches NXT. So, quite odd how we've done this one. And let us know, just obviously, before we move on to the NXT, what your thoughts are of Raw, and we'll be more than happy to answer your questions in a future episode or reply to you back in there in the comments. We'll just move on here with the NXT ArRIVAL review. It won't be as long as the Raw one, obviously. The show wasn't as long, and
I haven't seen it.
Yeah. So I'll try and explain to it the best you can there. So
okay.
So NXT ArRIVAL kicked off with quite a nice little sort of lighting show where everything was dark, and then you heard the words, "Are you ready?" and Triple H is in the ring, and he says, "Are you ready for the next generation, the new era?" And one of the things I noticed this as well, because there was a big pop from the fans, obviously, for this, that throughout the show of NXT ArRIVAL, and I guess a lot of the odd shows of NXT that I've watched, it has a very ECW feel to it, and the reason I say that, the fans are sometimes chanting NXT, NXT, and all the fans that are in there are chanting. It's a smaller group than most, and it's a closed arena, so the sound just reverberates. It makes it seem like everyone in there is dying for the match. They're ready for it, and it makes it really unique.
Sort of like, I think partly why it has that ECW feel is because ECW was always in Philadelphia, and it was always in the one building.
Yeah,
and it's the same with NXT. It's always
it's at the Full Sail University.
In Florida. So I mean, so you get sort of like your home crowd.
Yeah.
And you always back the home team sort of thing. So
yeah, I mean, you're looking at a lot of these guys. I mean, what NXT likes to do is that they bring back some of the guys from the roster. Some guys that have been in NXT, they come back every now and then to have matches against the guys that are in there. So it's like these are the guys. They're the guys that they've been there since day one. So the fans are really behind them, and they're really behind the gimmicks and everything. So I mean, the audience was packed full of WWE legends, shall we say? I mean, Bret Hart was on the pre-show. Shawn Michaels was there as well, and the likes of Triple H, Stephanie McMahon, Dusty Rhodes, Pat Patterson. And there's a few. John Cena was there as well. So there's a lot of big names there. A lot of big movers and shakers in the WWE backroom. So this match, Triple H and Stephanie McMahon were bigging up this show. They said before, in both these things. I think Stephanie McMahon was really pushing this. She said that the first first big event on the WWE Network won't be WrestleMania 30. It will be NXT ArRIVAL. So they were really going for this. They were really trying to get NXT over.
Sell it.
Yeah, and one of the big selling points of the network is NXT, and after this show, it definitely is. So the opening match to NXT ArRIVAL was Zayn versus Cesaro. Sami Zayn. And they've had matches before. Their first match they had against each other was what a lot of people said was match of the year candidate. There were signs in there in the crowd saying rematch of the year. So people were ready for this to be a good match. These guys did not disappoint.
For what I hear, delivered.
Yeah, I mean, I know you haven't seen the match yet. I know you're going to get through to it. I mean, I know you're dying to watch this match. The show in general. I know you're an NXT fan, Matt. So this match was really, really good. At times it was uncomfortable because Cesaro got so much offense in, but it turned out to be a really good match. It was built up really well, and it had almost like a Bret Hart Steve Austin WrestleMania 13 feel to it, where one guy was dominant towards the end of the match, but one guy just wouldn't stay down until it became.
Sounds about right for a Sami Zayn match.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Now this was the best match of the night. Cesaro again pulling out another really, really good match, really physical match, some really good spots in here. It told an awesome story, and it had a really good payoff for the overall story of Zayn in this match as well. The fact that Sami Zayn was wanting Cesaro's respect in the ring, and I won't give away the match to Matt there, but it ended for what was seen very odd. WWE on the main roster, they don't like to give the faces their ultimate sort of their payoff to their storylines.
I did see a meme. It was like it was Sami Zayn and Cesaro sort of sharing a hug in the middle of the ring, and it's like
they basically
thank you WWE.
Yeah, so you already know anyway. They basically
was. I don't know. Yeah, but I don't know the finish.
Yeah.
I don't know
Okay, I won't go into too much anyway. But yeah, the respect was basically found anyway, as you can see from there. And great match. It would be hard for anyone not in this match to respect the other guy because they really left it out there for these guys. And fair play to both of them. They pulled off a hell of a match. So the next match on the show was CJ Parker against Mojo Rawley. Mojo Rawley's this guy who's I don't get hyped, I stay hyped, and he's all over the place. He's everything. I think that his gimmick can actually work pretty well in WWE, but this match was over in a blink of an eye. It was not on very long. Mojo Rawley got the win in sort of like a little bit that's it sort of fashion, and I wasn't immediately impressed by CJ Parker. I think there's something to Mojo Rawley, but I didn't see enough for him to really get a good consensus of what this guy can do.
Yeah.
I mean, what's your consensus of Mojo Rawley and the get hyped, the stay hyped?
It's okay. I mean, it's a good. He's like a good hype. He's a good hype guy.
Yeah.
If anything, I mean, obviously, just to knock on is like I don't get hyped, I stay hyped. But that's it. He's good for sort of the crowd to get behind, sort of thing.
Yeah.
He's got the energy and the sort of charisma to sort of like draw the kids and sort of get the cheers, sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I noticed while watching him is that he is that gimmick where he's quite a big guy. I was expecting quite a scrawny guy to come out when I heard about this gimmick.
Oh yeah.
But he comes out. He's quite big. He's got a bit of weight behind him, but he's all over the place. He's stamping his feet. He's all hyped up and everything. He doesn't stop moving. And everything. But the match itself wasn't very good. And to be fair, how are you going to follow what Zayn and Cesaro did? They just weren't going to do it. So
yeah,
the theme of this of NXT is that they gave the matches that I think they knew were going to be great the time to be good, and the matches that they thought wouldn't be as good, they just didn't give the time. And the actual pace of the pay-per-view was expertly crafted because there were matches to give you a break in and out of the match. There was no two epics next to each other sort of thing. So they gave the fans time to rest up and then get another piece of awesome wrestling. So yeah, I wasn't immediately impressed by this Mojo Rawley more than CJ. I thought there was nothing much to CJ Parker really.
He still hasn't impressed me.
No, he hasn't impressed me that much either. The Ascension against the likes of Too Cool. Yes, Too Cool was on NXT.
The what?
Yeah, they were wrestling for the Tag Team NXT Championship.
What?
Yeah, Scotty 2 Hotty. The only thing is, though, Scotty 2 Hotty, I'm going to call him now Scotty 2 Stone Cold, because he was bald and he had a beard. So,
okay.
Yeah, I know it's quite odd to think of Scotty Too Hotty that way, but he looked like Stone Cold Steve Austin a little bit.
Okay, fair enough.
The Ascension. This is the first time I've seen them since they one of their members left, if I remember right. I don't know too much about it, but
fired.
I know that now it's Connor and Victor, isn't it? That they had.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think I really like the look of these guys. I think they can get over pretty well in the main roster. And this match wasn't bad. It was sort of like you expect the ending. You wouldn't expect Too Cool to win the NXT tag championships.
Yeah.
But you also expected the likes of the Worm and everything like this and all the other stuff that goes along with this. So it was kind of like you got what you had on the tin, sort of thing. But it wasn't a bad match. It was okay. It was worth watching.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I know that you're now excited to go watch the Ascension against Too Cool. So
yeah.
And I haven't ruined the ending for you because the Ascension would have won. Surely.
Oh yeah, that's it. It's just sort of like, and Too Cool won?
Yeah. Too Cool are your new NXT. They're the next generation, Matt. Did you not know that? Too Cool? Yeah. Right, so we had those two matches, which obviously, the Ascension against Too Cool was much better than Mojo Rawley against CJ Parker, but it still wasn't epic. The next was Emma against Paige 2. I know they've had more matches against each other, but this was the second one I've watched of these women. This is Divas Wrestling. Let me rephrase that. This is women's wrestling that we've been wanting on the roster for a very long time. They
fight for the NXT Women's title.
This was a match which just makes me think, you copy and paste this match on a good pay-per-view with the main roster, you could revive that division in that one match. It really is that good. There were power bombs. There were unique submissions. There was length.
Definitely.
This was about a good 25-minute match. It looked physical. It looked intense. It had the fans behind it, and it had a really good finish. And it had everything that you would want from a match. And that's not even putting in the fact that this is a women's match. This was fantastic in every sense of the word. And we're obviously quite happy that obviously Paige is putting off good matches because she's British, and we want British people to succeed. If we're going to get a British champion anytime soon, then I'm pretty sure that even though Adrian Neville, later on, but I know that Paige is probably our closest to having a really big star in the future, and I think she's got a really good career ahead of her. And she put out a really dirty submission hold at the end of this match to get the win.
A scorpion lock.
Yeah. Oh, and I mean,
that really sort of what looking at it was just like that's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like even just to look at it, just like
It looks savage, doesn't it? It really looks like it would really hurt, and that's the point, isn't it? Really. I mean, I watched it and I had to show my wife it, and she was like, "Wow, that really looks." I mean, you look at that move; she's got all of her own weight and Emma's weight on her legs, holding her up.
Yeah,
that's a hard move to really get going, and you could mess that move up. But no, it was performed expertly. So yeah, big thumbs up to both these girls for this. They had their embrace at the end of this match, kind of, because we know her whole gimmick is that she's awkward, so they kind of had a little bit of a hug and whatever.
Set a little with the cuddle.
Yeah, because I mean, Emma's obviously going off to the main roster now. That's probably the last you're going to see of Emma versus Paige, at least on NXT. And then Paige will go off and feud with someone else. I think they're probably going to keep Paige in WWE in NXT for a good couple of months still. I think they think that she's too young to bring her up yet, which I think is wrong, but that's
understandable.
So that was an epic match in itself. I would give that 5 stars. Brilliant, really, really good. And like I said, this is the rivalry that could really give you a really decent women's division back on the main roster. Now, whether they decide to do that, or if they ruin Emma before Paige actually gets up to the main roster, is yet to be seen. So we'll see what goes from there. We had Xavier Woods, who came in with Brodus Clay's theme song, so I guess that's now just his and the Funkadactyl's theme song now, I guess. But I would much rather him have his own theme tune instead of just stealing other people's ones. But I mean, I know that's just how he's being booked, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't like that personally. I think we've got a really talented theme music composer in your books that could probably come up with a really good theme for Woods. So give him another entrance music apart from that. He went against Tyler Breeze. This is this guy who basically takes selfies of himself when he comes to the ring. My wife was not very enamoured. She thought the show was a bit of a joke when she saw this, because I mean, this is the first thing that she saw of it.
He's a bit of a terrible mix of dashing Cody Rhodes and Dolph Ziggler, isn't he?
Yeah, but the worst parts of those sort of characters.
Yeah.
I wasn't too keen on Tyler Breeze, but the good thing, I mean, I didn't even want to see Xavier Woods wrestle because he's kind of been ruined since he came onto the main roster. The good thing about this, however, is that the match never got started because Alexander Rusev decided, I'm going to beat the shit out of the pair of you, and he did. He came in and basically just kicked the pair of them in the head. Lana did a promo basically saying all the stuff that we've had on the promos already, saying that he's the super athlete, he's the next generation, he's the new era, and then Alexander Rusev did the same in Bulgarian, and that was the end of the promo. So I was kind of glad that he actually came in and wrecked these guys, because this wasn't a match I actually wanted to see.
Just to save you from it.
Yeah. So in that case, Alexander Rusev, you're still a face in my opinion, because you saved me from what could have been a really shit match. And I wasn't exactly crying over the fact I didn't get to see Tyler Breeze in the ring. His entrance alone was enough for me to say I kind of don't want to put any stock in this guy. So we'll see how it goes from there. But the final match on the show, the main event, Adrian Neville against Bo Dallas. I was quite interested in this match. We've obviously seen Bo Dallas beforehand. He's been the longest running NXT champion in history.
Yep.
And there's only been a few of them. Adrian Neville is an English guy.
Yep,
Newcastle. Yeah. Who looks like he's a high flyer, but has the body of someone I hate to draw comparisons.
Like a mini powerhouse.
Yeah, but he looks a little bit like Chris Benoit. He's a short, stacked guy who can just do but he's way more athletic than the likes of those. I saw obviously the promos they did beforehand of him doing of these flips in his finisher as well. It was very sort of almost better than what John Morrison used to do, and John Morrison's body was
does
more
like a 450 corkscrew or something.
Yeah, but he
just finisher.
He bends and fucking turns very quick on that. So he performed a few really good spots in this match. This was a ladder match as well. HBK came up beforehand and he kind of endorsed it. Kind of went through this, the usual HBK spiel of I've had a few ladder matches in my time. This is for the NXT Championship.
HB Shizzle,
yeah, as we all know as now. This match was pretty good. I don't think it was as good as the Zayn Cesaro match. I would actually say that because they were going into spots and stuff, I actually enjoyed the Emma Page match more. But that's not to say that this match was bad. In fact, it was superb. It was very, very good. The only one thing I would say about this is that people watching this on the WWE Network, that it kind of crashed for them. A few people towards the end of the match, they didn't even get to see the Adrian Neville Bo Dallas finale. But it was good, and it had a really good finish towards the end of this match. They basically, Adrian Neville makes a bit of space for himself. He goes up to ladder. Bo Dallas, it was sort of like a weird finish for a ladder match, because whenever you expect people to come in, they're just going to stop him from getting the belt. But Adrian Neville just gets up there in time. He unhooks the belt and wins it just with Bo Dallas.
Yeah, he just sort of needs that last. He sort of needed that one extra rung sort of thing, and just sort of leapt for it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like he had a little bit more left in the tank as they were going up there, and he managed to unhook it before Bo Dallas could stop him. This is after lots of times of them stopping each other. Getting the belt and stuff, as you would expect in that ladder match. But it was good. There were some good spots here, good bumps, good wrestling, I could say, in the space of a ladder match. And Adrian Neville is your new NXT champion, which makes me think that normally in wrestling, when they take the belt of someone, is either because they've done a bad thing or they're destined for bigger stuff, which basically means that they've taken the belt off Bo Dallas so you can go up to the main roster after Mania. That's what
I don't say that. I don't want Bo Dallas on the main roster.
That's what I think they're doing, though. I think that's their plan.
I am not a Bo-lever.
You're not a Bo-lever, no?
I am not a Bo-lever.
Yeah. Well, you didn't Bo?
I didn't Bo.
Yeah. So...
I just Bo Dallas bores me.
Yeah.
Like just everything about Bo Dallas. I hate his face. Like it sounds like a really terrible childish thing. It's like I hate your face, but it's just like just everything about Bo Dallas just annoys me.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of his point
even when he first came out for like last year's Rumble and he eliminated Wade Barrett, I was like, you still annoy me.
Yeah, back then we liked Wade Barrett though, didn't we? So that was like, no!
Yeah, that was very true.
Dallas, obviously his long reign with the NXT Championship is over, and like I said, I do think after Mania, they'll probably end up doing with these guys, Bo Dallas will get his rematch, he'll lose to Adrian Neville, and during that time you're probably looking for. That's going to be around about after WrestleMania, so that's the time where maybe you'll have Bo Dallas on the main roster. That's how I think it will go.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, for me, that's fine. His character is like almost like he's the Justin Bieber of the WWE universe. That he tries to act so, almost like goody two shoes that people hate him for it. But he's got that little bit of edge to him where he kind of knows that he's doing it as well. So I think it could work in WWE. He
does have a pretty solid aggressive side, but it's just like.
Yeah, I mean, in this match, he gave as good as he got. He didn't, he was physical in this match. He had a few good moves and spots and everything. So it wasn't like a squash match, not by anything. But if anything, he got more offense on Neville than Neville did on Dallas. So, but yeah, I can see that gimmick that he has actually working pretty well in WWE if they book it right. That's the big if, because
it's just like the key word. I mean,
we thought that Bad News Barrett could be the next big thing for Wade Barrett, and they proceeded to book him into oblivion with that shit gimmick now. But yeah, we'll see how it goes from there. Whether they've got enough patience to really give that gimmick anything. But this is what used to happen back in the days of old, and this is the way that Triple H thinks as well. Is that let's say that you're the IC champion, you get really over as the IC champion. When it's time for you to start going for the main belt, you'll lose that belt in order to go for the other belt. So actually losing a belt can do more for your career than keeping the belt, sort of thing. So this is how I see it.
It's like you can keep the belt and be mid card forever, or
take the belt off you, give it to another mid carder who has a chance, and then we'll pop you up to the main roster, sort of thing. That's exactly how I see this going for Bo Dallas anyway. So. All in all, this show was fantastic. It had some amazing wrestling on it. For a 2-hour show, there was very little promos, if at all any promos, and there was just a lot of really good wrestling. The Zayn Cesaro match is something that sticks out really well to me. The Emma Page match, you would expect them, if they weren't good wrestlers, just to copy and paste their really, really great match they had before. This was not the case. In fact, it was a very different match than the one they had before, and it was just as good. And that's a mark of good wrestlers. Yeah. And the Neville and Bo Dallas match was very watchable. And obviously, if you want to see Tyler Breeze get the shit kicked out of him by Alexander Rusev, then NXT ArRIVAL has that as well, so that's fine. So all in all, Matt, I think when you actually get around to watching this, I know you know the majority of the results by now anyway, but you will be very happy, especially with, like I said, those matches that I highlighted.
I'd like to hear.
Yeah. So, all in all, if this is the next era of wrestling in WWE, I think they're really on a really good track. You've got the likes of Sami Zayn, who looks really good. You've got the likes of Adrian Neville, who I think could... I don't think he's going to get anywhere high, unfortunately, Adrian Neville. I just think that's the way it'll go. But, he's still entertaining.
I don't know.
What do you think?
I'd say I could see Adrian Neville maybe going as not necessarily the whole hog, but I think we'd see him in sort of like the upper mid sort of... I think Christian...
Yeah, I agree with you in that sense. Yeah, he could make. I mean, years down the line, he may have a title run, but he's not going to be the heights of a Roman Reigns or Bray Wyatt.
Yeah,
they're the big guys from the next generation. But can I see
Reigns and Wyatt are like your new Cena and Orton, and then I could see like Adrian Neville is like your new Christian.
Yeah.
Sort of he is mid card, but he gets the spots in the upper card sort of thing.
Yeah, you'd expect him in the matches like Elimination Chamber, Money in the Bank. I mean, imagine having this guy in a Money in the Bank ladder match. That would be fantastic. So yeah, there's a lot of good stuff that you could do with him. But when you look at this is one thing that highlights what me and Matt have said a lot is that the way that the women are booked in the main roster and the way they're booked in NXT, it's black and white how you see the Emma versus Summer Rae match and the Emma versus Paige match. And it's not, I mean, Paige is a better wrestler than Summer Rae, but she's not.
Even if you just went onto YouTube and just searched NXT Summer Rae versus Emma, just watched that,
and it's a good match. It really is.
That's it. Like you could pick any old one, and it will be a much better match than what you saw on Raw.
Yeah. Now, whether WWE I mean, NXT kind of lives in its own bubble, sort of thing. That the fans that are there, they love all the wrestlers. They get behind all the factions. They give it a nice big response. But when you get onto the main roster, as we see with Emma, sometimes it can fall a little bit flat, and it takes a bit of time to get over again, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I firmly believe if you give them these matches, then they'll get behind these guys. They have to. I mean,
well, I guess now that it's on the network as well, so it's a lot more easily accessible.
Exactly. This is going to be a lot more in the limelight than it ever was before. I mean, beforehand you had to kind of find NXT through the back alleys of WWE's programming sort of thing.
Yeah.
But now it's kind of been put on the forefront, and it is one of them big selling points of the network. You know, now you can only find NXT through the network. I know there's a few other places that you can get to it.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's their big thing now, that you can get NXT directly through the network, and it's one of their big shows that they're doing now. And you look at the humble beginnings of NXT when it first started up. When we first started up, it was a game show
when it was
sort of
thing.
Crazy.
Crazy to think that originally it was just like, we have 7 rookies and they've been given 7 trainers.
Yeah. And it wasn't...
Like, and that's how Daniel Bryan started.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it, it wasn't very good, was it? The NXT show when it started up. I mean, I remember the likes of CM Punk just saying on the mic when he was a trainer that he just didn't care and he walked out. You know, sort of thing. It was like, you know, not a lot of people cared about it. When they removed the trainers and actually gave it its own show with its own roster and its own belts, and then started giving it its own announcers and you know,
it's its own company now, really.
Yeah, it's like it lives.
It's under the WWE banner, but that's it. It's like they've got their own roster with guest wrestlers.
Yeah.
From Raw.
Yeah.
And SmackDown. There's like, and it'll just keep going like that. They've got but as you said, they've got their own team, their own facilities, the whole lot.
And there's absolutely no pressure on these guys to perform in NXT because they go in, they're still technically learning. That's developmental for them.
Yeah,
you know?
that's it.
So they go in there, they can perform as well as they like. They're still kind of getting over to some of the WWE fans. But all in all, if they fail, it's you know, if they fail one week, then it's not as bad as if they were to show up on Raw and then, you know, mess up there or anything like that. So, because of that, it operates under a different sort of rule base that you can kind of let your hair down and just wrestle, just do that, you know, and you know, fans will get behind that. And there's some guys out here in that roster that I'm looking forward to seeing more of. I'm looking forward to seeing more of Adrian Neville. I'm looking forward to seeing more of Sami Zayn. I've always wanted to see more of Paige and Emma. Obviously, we're going to see a lot more of Emma, but how she gets used. And I think I know there's been a few dislikers of the Ascension since the change went about, but I think their gimmick is really good. I think they can get over well in the tag team roster nowadays.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is, I can't come up with a way that they could come up to the main roster yet.
Not yet, not at the moment. It doesn't fit at the moment, does it really? And the fact is that, you might come up, you might be a dark tag team, but you're not going to out creep the Wyatt family. It just ain't going to happen.
That's true.
So they're going to have to wait and see how it happens and choose their moment. I also don't think they're ready, the Ascension, the way that they are at the moment. They need more time in NXT. Whereas I look at the likes of Paige and I look at the likes of Sami Zayn, and I'm like, they can go up to the main roster now. They can go up, but I think the Ascension needs a bit more time, personally.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
But that's fine. So all in all, NXT, great show. I think it was better than Raw for actual wrestling, and I got a lot more into this. I was on the edge of my seat for some of these matches, and you know, it was unique. It was, and like I said, it had like an ECW feel to it. It really did. That the fans were really into that product. They're really behind all the wrestlers, and they got good wrestling back for that as well. It just seemed a little bit more organic than maybe WWE.
I do very much look forward to watching it.
Yeah, it is really good. So I would recommend it to all. I obviously recommending it to Matt. I know Matt would watch it anyway because he's a big NXT fan. I'm going to try and catch a bit more NXT as I go along because a few of these guys I want to...
So does it now make you want to watch more of it?
I've always wanted to watch NXT.
But now you know what you're missing, sort of thing. Yeah, I mean, it's sort of like... I've kind of been keeping myself away from it because I've heard great things for it. I know some of the wrestlers in there because I've caught some of their stuff before they went to WWE. But... it's like I've got 3 hours of Raw to watch. How am I going to fit in, you know, an hour of NXT each week? I just don't know how I'm going to do it. But no, I tell you what, it might be worth it. It might be worth trying to find that extra hour and trying to get that in. And if you guys actually enjoyed us reviewing this week's NXT, then leave us a like, subscribe, and tell us that you did. And if you enough people do it, we'll have to try and make it a more regular part of the show if we find more time to be able to do that. At least if one of us catches it, then at least one of us can review it on the show, and then that's it.
We can do it from there. So let us know. Let us know if you did enjoy that. Is there anything else that you want to talk about NXT? Anything that any wrestlers that maybe weren't on the show that I should keep an eye on, or the fans of the podcast should keep an eye on?
Corey Graves.
Corey Graves, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I'll have to keep an eye on.
He's another one. He's sort of like think a bit Dean Ambrose. like in sort of like he's quite an erratic brawler.
Okay, yeah.
And there's one other guy, and I really can't remember his name for the life of me.
I've heard the name of Enzo Amore being thrown around a lot.
Not Enzo Amore.
Or Colin Cassidy.
Not Colin Cassidy.
They're teamed up together, aren't they? I think that's what...
Yeah. What's his name? His gimmick is like he's a big South African game hunter.
Really? That seems so odd.
Like, it sounds really odd, but trust me, he's deranged, and it's brilliant.
Really?
He sort of sits in the corner, sort of just playing with his hair with a massive smile on his face, and then the bell rings, and he just completely annihilates.
Okay.
Do you know what the worst thing is? It's going to get me. Like, I'll wake up first thing tomorrow morning and just go, I know.
I'll tell you what. That'll be our question to our subscribers for the week. Who is this South African game hunter who annihilates his opposition at NXT? Let us know, and then Matt can kick himself. I was going to say kill himself. I'd be like, be extreme. Bit drastic, yeah. He'll kick himself for not thinking of the name, and then we'll reference it next. And you know, if anyone sends us a message or anything, I'll put your name out of who actually got that first. So there you go. A little bit for people. We'll know then if people's listening all the way through the podcast, because they'll answer that question, or unless they just don't know. They don't have your level of knowledge in when it comes to NXT. So
Leo Kruger.
Oh, you've done it. There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
I was setting up a whole contest there. Oh, damn you. No, it's fine.
Sorry.
It's fine. So, yeah, Leo Kruger. Okay, I have to keep an eye on that guy. So, a few good guys for myself to keep an eye on. Maybe next time, watching some NXT.
That's it.
So, in terms of wrestling, good week for wrestling. You know, there's a lot to watch there. And an extra bumper episode of LTW this week with the Raw and NXT ArRIVAL review. Next week is going to be that Chicago hijacking, so we may have a lot to talk about regarding that. We're also going to do... What are we doing? We did Superstar Spotlight last, so it's probably Topic next, is it? No, we don't. We did the If Divas Ever, yeah. No, we're on Superstar Spotlight again, so you can expect that next week. We'll do Superstar Spotlight. We'll probably pick someone... What we do with Superstar Spotlight is that we pick someone on the roster who's maybe in the latter stage of their career, and we look over all their career. A few episodes ago, we did Rey Mysterio. And we went through his entire career. We talked about some of our most memorable moments watching him, and his best matches and stuff like that. So if that's the sort of stuff you enjoy, then who knows? We might pick one of your favourite wrestlers, and we will talk about him in great length. So you may enjoy that. As we said before, myself and Matt, thank you for kicking along with this podcast and staying with us the entire way through. If you're new to the podcast, why not subscribe? And that way you can catch more of the podcast. You can listen to the podcast while you're maybe watching wrestling, or you're playing games, or writing, or maybe even if you're driving somewhere, you can put it on your phone. I'm a huge podcast listener, and there's multiple different things I use to do the podcast.
That's it.
So so I hope you guys did enjoy the podcast this week. We put a lot of effort into this week's episode.
That's it.
If you did like it, then please leave us a like. We would really appreciate it if you gave us a like. And send us any messages or any comments or any questions that you would like in the comment section on the YouTube page, or send us a message on our YouTube account. And I think I've plugged everything I kind of can. So
I can't think of anything else.
Also, Matt is a ghost of the internet, so
don't try and find him.
Yeah, so don't try and find him. He will find you.
Everywhere.
Yes.
I'm like the final boss, apparently.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Look behind you now, Matt is there. No, we won't go into that. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. This is Let's Talk Wrestling Podcast, and we'll see you next week.
Catch you soon.
Bye bye.